Hello, I'm Dr. Roger Elmer, Advanced Neurospinal Solutions, and we're going to continue with cranial nerve 10 and its relationship to seizures and seizure disorders. Very interesting. We've been working with cranial nerve 10, using it to get rid of seizure disorders, whether it's epilepsy, whether it's migraine-induced seizures, which is much more rare, whether it's a traumatic brain injury. The outcome is the same. And we got this information ultimately from research done at Harvard. And these are a couple of they're research papers that were turned into books: vagus nerve stimulation, and then later this one, vagus nerve stimulation and anxiety. Very interesting. But researchers took and cut into the necks of the patients that had seizure disorders and spliced into cranial nerve 10 and gave nerve stimulation at a certain frequency and time frame in that, and they were able to reduce and then even eliminate their seizures. And what was interesting that continued to happen beyond that, and this will relate to everything that you've learned about the cranial nerve 10, is as it was stimulating that, the researchers started to ask questions about other things, anything else that's improving. And they'd say, well, yeah, my anxiety disorder's way down and my neuropathy's almost gone. And so that stimulated the need for another research project by Dr. Bell. But that is the foundation of the therapies that we do with respect to cranial nerve 10 with electrical therapies. And so seizure disorders are storms within the brain. You say, well, there's cranial nerve 10, we're affecting the reflexogenic system, and you would be right in saying that. But that reflexogenic system also extends from a sensory point of view up into beyond the brainstem into the brain itself, into the thalamus and brain itself. And so we can have an impact on the brain cortically into the circuitry. The seizures, as we've talked about before, seizure disorders are happening as a result of weakened cells in the system. Those weakened cells tend to like to fire more than the cells around them because they're trying to save their own lives. Remember, we talked about neuroplasticity being where the cells are becoming stronger and more resilient because they're firing, and therefore they're replacing all their stuff. Remember, I call it cellular housekeeping. Whereas when we talk about the opposite, the dark side of neuroplasticity is where the cell is not firing. Because it's not firing, it's not replacing things, it's not improving, it's getting weaker. And so in order to save its own life, it's going to ramp itself up so that anything can fire it, any stimuli, any neurotransmitter can now cause it to fire. And cellular junk and toxins and that can also cause it to fire. Why? Because if it fires, then it goes through a cellular immediate early gene response, which causes it to upkeep, to replace the stuff that's going bad and promote its survivability, which is ultimately the end that it wants to accomplish. Well, what we're doing is we're working with the cranial nerve 10 to promote the autonomic nervous system effect, but also to extend up into the brain to cause that brain to get what it needs in terms of firing and make it happen. Now, from a autonomic point of view, that autonomic automated system extends into the brain and supplies it with what it needs. So, and then we're going to approach it from working from a brainstem point of view to get that cranial nerve 10 to work better, but we're also going to work with it from a supranuclear point of view up into the brain, up into the cortex, and affect those cells that absolutely need it. But that is why this is so important for seizures and seizure disorders. So if you know somebody who has a child or has somebody that has that issue, you know now that we can take care of that without drugs and surgery. In fact, we do it without cutting into their neck. We can do it with a clippy electrode to make that happen. So I hope that was helpful and helping understand a little bit better about cranial nerve 10 and seizures. And we're here if you're ready to take your life back. Thank you. Bye.